Okay.
So, hello and welcome to the Tim Tom podcast. Today is a very special episode. We're talking about a very special man, and I thought I'd do that with a very special man of my own.
No, thanks.
Do you want to
Hello,
introduce
everyone.
yourself?
Yeah, I'm Will. Uh, this is the first time on Tim Tom podcast, although no Tim today. It's still an honour.
Tim is, I don't know what he's doing. I think
Is
he's tied to a sex swing at the moment.
otherwise occupied. Obviously, not as big a Yay fan as we thought.
Yeah, so today we'll be talking a little bit about the discography and I guess sort of a bit of the effects on his career as a whole of producer, rapper, label owner, fashion designer, and of course, presidential candidate Kanye West.
2024, boys. 2024. Here we go.
Time to get the green card.
He's got 60,000 in the bag already. I'm sure he can just carry that over to the next one.
Add them on. Let them vote
Yeah.
again.
The Rock.
I mean, I reckon he could be president as well, to be honest.
But Kanye is also called The Rock. Well, he calls himself The Rock a lot.
Does he?
Does he? I swear in lots of his songs he calls himself The Rock.
What, as in Dwayne Johnson or
No,
just
it's
calling
in
himself
just
a
like
rock?
he keeps calling himself The Rock. The
Well, I
Rock
mean,
is in the
towards the
building.
back end, he did make some rock music.
Yeah.
Or one song anyway. But we'll get to all that later. Let's start. After years of being the producer, they got a couple of rap features here and there. He finally, in 2004, got to drop his first album. And some people say he never bettered it.
Ooh.
College Dropout. Have you got any immediate thoughts on
Well,
his
College
debut?
Dropout was the first album that I listened to of him. So it doesn't hold a special place in my heart. Recommended by yourself, and I think it is a very strong album. I think it flows very well, and it's a very strong sound as well. And also, it holds some of his sort of most iconic songs on it, with Jesus Walks,
Mm-hmm.
We Don't Care, All Falls Down, um, and Through the Wire. So sort of some of his most, well, maybe more of his famous songs to his fans. So I rate it quite highly. In this,
Definitely. And I think even the deeper cuts, I think probably the interludes, which I don't really get because obviously I wasn't in the American school system. So a lot of the college things sort of go over my head a little bit, and I think they're a bit too frequent on this album. But
I
I like most of the songs here, to be honest.
mm, I like the skits. I think they work well with the flow of the album. It does get a little bit too much where you've got the little Jimmy skits that come
Hmm.
up about when he's on about the degrees. It gets to the point of being too much, but I never think it goes over. And there's only one song on here that I don't really like, which is uh Never Let You Down. I
Oh,
think
really?
I don't I just it's just lacking something. It needs like another it's got it's not very impactful. It needs either like another bass line or something to it. Just there's something missing from the beat, and the bars are a bit too soppy. I think it goes on for too long. And
It
also,
definitely does go on for too long. I
oh,
agree with you on that.
it did not need that last verse.
Cut it
when they
out.
come when they come back and they're like, "Yeah, we're still here." We're like, "No, please, please don't still be here."
Why didn't it end
Just
with the choir? I never understand that.
he does love a choir. I've discovered from listening to everything.
It's all his years at church.
Yeah, I didn't like Jay Ivy's verse as well in it. It felt a bit clunky and a bit cringy when he's talking about like life and God and math bars and stuff. I just felt a bit ugh.
But still, I mean, for a debut album, it had a lot of big names on there. Common, Talib
Yeah,
Kweli, Jay-Z, Mos
Jamie,
Def,
Jamie Foxx. I thought that
Jamie
all the
Foxx.
features were solid. I don't think Jay Z's ever given great features on the Kanye albums, but I think the rest of them give very strong verses in their songs. I think
I think
two.
the only exception to that would be his two verses on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Yeah, yeah. So even though, like, I know we'll get onto it, but the beginning of his verse at Monster is a bit weird when he's listing all the monsters and stuff. Is a bit clunky, but we'll get onto that. But yeah, I think all the features are solid on this album, especially Two Words, where everyone's got their own verse. I think that's one of the strongest songs on the album as well.
Even though all the verses are just bars of 2 words.
Yeah, but I think that works well, especially when saying they're all saying their own sort of like life slogans in 2 words. Like you got Ye saying "fuck you, pay me," and then you've got everyone sort of riffing off each other. And I think that works well.
Hmm.
I think
So what were
it's
your? Oh, sorry.
no, you go for it. Go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna wrap it up. So I don't really, if you got more to say.
No, no, no.
So what were your favorite tracks on
Favorite track.
this
So
album?
I think Spaceship is very good. I think everyone can sort of relate to the sort of wanting more than just a regular job sort of vibe, and sort of it really catches you as well. I think probably my favorite track on it is Last Call, the final track. I
Hmm.
think with the simple beat and the way that it goes from Ye rapping some quite strong bars to him talking about his career and stuff, I think it works quite well and it rounds off the album quite nicely. So that would probably be my favorite. But also you got to mention All Falls Down, 2 words as I said as well. All strong tracks.
Yeah, I think for me, I'd also add We Don't Care,
Yeah, true.
School Spirit, although I don't know why it's clean. That is,
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't sure if that was a statement or something. I thought my CD was broken when I first heard it. I didn't really know what was going on.
I always fear that I've downloaded the clean version and then I've
Oh
just sort
yeah.
of, and then I've listened the whole way through to whatever track that is on the album, managed to not realize until then.
Yeah.
I
I think
also love Get 'em High and of course the new workout plan.
I think that's very clever as well. I like Breathe In, Breathe Out as well. That's also sort of a hard hitting, sort of straight up hip hop song.
Hmm. Oh, and Breathe In, Breathe Out, if I didn't say that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that was the first song I heard from the album, actually, weirdly.
It's very old school hip hop and I like it quite a lot.
Definitely. All right, then not just over a year later, we got late registration. Do you have any immediate feelings on that?
I think I do actually. I quite like the album overall. I think the beginning is a bit kind of too mainstream, kind of too sort of clean and a bit like he's trying to make a single because you've got Heard and Say, then Touch the Sky, then Gold Digger, all sort
Hmm.
of three sort of mainstream hits. I think Gold Digger is a strong song. I'm not a huge fan of Touch the Sky or Heard and Say. So it starts off a bit sort of like they're decent songs, but it's not like a Kanye start. But I think it's got a very strong middle bit where it goes back to sort of old school hip hop with Drive Slow, Crack Music, Roses, and sort of that middle section is very strong. And I like the album as a whole.
I mean, the main thing of this album, I think why you can't really have it as one of your least favorites, even though I think for me overall it probably is down there, is purely because it's got some of his biggest ever songs on here, like you mentioned,
True.
Gold Digger and Touch the Sky, but also Diamonds from Sierra Leone as well was a massive song at the time.
Mm.
And I think Addiction was quite big as well. Although
Yeah.
I think the end again really drags on that song, even though I do like it.
Yeah. I quite like. I think probably one of my favorite on here would be Drive Slow, with very old school sort of hip hop and very sort of you can imagine someone like Ice Cube or someone like that sort of making the song about sort of how it's like in the hood and everything and how it's like in the hip hop industry and things. I thought Roses was nice as well, sort of showed a sort of vulnerable side of Kanye we hadn't seen before. In
And the
College
same for Hey
Dropout.
Mama.
Yeah, Hey Mama, that's just a great song overall, whether it's a Kanye song or not. Is Hey Mama on this? Hey
Yeah.
Mama on late? Oh.
And
Oh
it's
yeah, I see it, yeah.
there's a brilliant video of him performing it on some talk show, and his
Oh,
mum's
is that
there.
on Oprah?
I think so, and
I literally watched that
she's
before we did
rapping
this,
along to
yeah.
every word.
Yeah. Hey Mama is it's just a great song. I think that's really strong. I think it would have been better if he maybe sort of mixed in the first three tracks throughout the album, maybe, because it does feel very sort of corporate at the beginning where you got the three big singles.
Here's the hits, and then here's the rest.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like here's what the sort of normie mainstream want, and then here's Kanye being Kanye.
Yeah, I mean, there's some very likable songs on here. I think Gone is sort of a underrated sort of Kanye at his rappy best.
Yeah.
With Cameron and Consequence towards the back end. And even the song Late that closes it out is quite a funny track. Like, come on, just because I'm late doesn't mean you should put me with the dum-dums.
Yeah. I feel like he seems a lot calmer on this album than on College Dropout, I felt overall.
And also something I didn't notice properly until I re-listened to it after you mentioned that he did a sort of orchestral version after this album.
Yeah.
That there is a lot of like strings and instruments on this album.
I think that's something that, with the beginning of his career, especially with College Dropout on this one as well, he's very old school hip hop with sort of soul samples and the strings and the trumpets, and quite a lot of his have sort of a choir in there at some point. Just something you sort of lose in the middle of his career, but obviously we'll get on to that. But yeah, it's very strong and it's very sort of old school hip hop as it were, but he makes it his own and stuff.
Definitely. So I think we've mentioned all my favourite tracks. Oh, My Way Home, I like, even though it's not got Kanye on it. just that common verse, because the beat is so good, and then the common verse, even though it's like just over a minute long. I don't really know why it's on here, because Kanye produced like 2 albums for Common, so it could have easily gone on there. But
yeah,
I still like it anyway.
I do think probably Drive Slow is up there for me. I think Gold Digger, regardless of whether it fits in the album or not, is just a solid song, very clever, and the beat's very good as well. Which is probably why it's one of his,
on there killing it.
Yeah, it's probably one of his biggest hits. I think Roses is nice.
It's got to be his biggest song ever, doesn't it?
What, Gold Digger? But
yeah.
you've got the thing is you've got Stronger, which is huge, and then you've got Power, because Power is used on like every advert, like. The beat from Power
and
is
Black
used on like
as well.
True, Black Skinhead. The beat is used. So this is the thing.
I still get shocked every time I go on Apple Music and you go on Kanye, and his most played song of all time isn't even his song. It's American Boy.
Yeah, I didn't know that was for years. I didn't know that was Kanye.
No.
But it's a good verse on that.
Let's not get into that.
Getting off topic already.
And then I think for me, where did I rank it in the end? Yeah, this is my second least favorite. I've decided Graduation.
Oh really? Mine's a lot higher than that. Mine's in the top half for this one.
What, Graduation?
No, Late Registration.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh no, Late Reg is okay. I think it's mid-table.
We're on to Graduation now, though.
Yes, the final of the school series.
Oh God.
He decided to go. I think this is one of the only 2 albums he's done where he was pinching from the time rather than sort of doing his own thing or creating the new sound.
Yeah, true.
This is very of the era, and it sounds it, and it does suffer from that, I think, as a result.
But it starts off with such a Kanye song with Good Morning. It's like it's a very unique song, very Kanye song, very voice orientated. So it starts off strong, and then Champion is just a bit too long, a bit too repetitive. And then
it could have fitted on like Late Registration. It would have worked.
Good Morning definitely feels a bit out of place. I think for all its mainstream success and stuff, Stronger is still a great song.
No, definitely. I think that's one of the few that stood the test of time, really.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I think you go that and sort of Flashing Lights and Can't Tell Me Nothing.
Oh, I think Flashing Lights is very good, and it's such a vibe, and it's very smooth as well. It kind of, this is my problem with this whole album. It doesn't really flow. It's like he's like trying to make songs that would be popular. I think what you were saying about it being very set in its time is sort of the token of that is Good Life with T-Pain is very much a late 2000s song, and I don't think it's aged very well. I don't
It's a
think it's a
school
very good
disco
track.
song, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a school disco when you think you're hard because you know the words to a rap song. It's
And even hearing it now, and I try my best to not hear it now because I do not like it very much. But the Michael Jackson sample and everything as well, I just don't like the song at all.
Oh, I think as well, it's a shame that in Good Life he's taking bars from older songs that are so much better. He takes bars from School Spirit in the chorus.
Mm.
And as well, like just looking at the features as well, it's a lot more mainstream where you've got T-Pain, Chris Martin, John Mayer and stuff like that.
But I think
And
that was one of the few sort of weirder things he did in this album with getting the singer from Coldplay on a song,
I don't like
which I think
Homecoming.
is an underratedly risky move. But I still don't. I think the song's okay, but it's not fantastic. But
It's a
the reason that I don't like this album is because it has his worst song he's ever made, "Drunken Hot Girls." I
I don't
can't
know. I
abide
don't
this
mind
song,
it.
and I don't really like "I Wonder" either, even though I think a lot of Kanye fans
I think
quite like "I
yeah,
Wonder."
I think I Wonder's got a good sample, but the song itself, not really much. It's nice to hear something a bit different, but it's not much. I think Drunken Hot Girls, it's okay. You can sort of see how
Sticking
it
up for
leads
Drunken Hot
to,
Girls.
huh?
You're sticking up
Yeah,
for Drunken Hot Girls.
I don't. It doesn't stick out in my mind as being horrible,
Oh,
but
don't.
you can sort of see how Drunken Hot Girl though leads to No More Parties in LA in later albums. And yeah, this album just feels just a bit soulless. It's just a bit trying to make beats that will sell and stuff like that. It's not. It's a shame that it's the end of the trilogy. It would have been nice for it to go out on a high.
I think what I'd close off talking about Graduation with is saying that the artwork is the best thing about it.
Yeah, damning with faint praise. I guess that is. I guess
They then got back to do the Kids See Ghost artwork, so the same
uh,
guy.
that is good artwork. To be fair. I guess the last thing I'd say about Graduation is it feels very disconnected from the first two albums of this trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
You sort of
Definitely.
lost a lot of the trumpets in the choir and stuff like that, and moving towards the more sort of synthetic mainstream kind of noise.
And also shorter. It's only 13 songs.
Yeah.
A sign of things to come. After that, we then go into. So he's sort of done his mainstream rappy album. He's just dropped that. And then his mum dies and he blames himself. And his engagement with his then fiance Alexis Pfeiffer falls apart. So understandably, he's gone from this really confident rap album to like a heartbroken,
Damn.
sad album. And it was so poorly received at the time. It's crazy.
Really?
808s and Heartbreak.
I didn't realise all that backstory. I just thought he was being an edgy boy.
he was sent into that. I think he then moved to Japan or Italy for a bit, just be away from everything, and made this.
Fair enough.
So if you haven't heard it, it's majority of the time. Well, it's 100% auto-tune, I believe, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
And it's mostly sung to sort of as a bit of a crutch to sort of let the emotion carry through in a way that you couldn't really rap it, and I appreciate that for what it is now, even though I hated it at the time. I'll be the first to admit.
I wasn't a huge fan the first time I went through it, but I think it's alright. I think it's definitely doing something different, which I like. It sticks to a style as well, which is sort of what was lacking from Graduation. So it's sort of got a common theme throughout it. I've not. It's not my favourite, but I would listen to it. I think some of the songs I've written down are good. Heartless has got a really good beat to it. It's a bit well, for today, judging from today, it's a bit of a generic song. You can sort of see how it sort of led to like Jason Derulo's "What You Say" and sort of songs like that.
Mm-hmm.
A bit like, and sort of Tyre Cruz's career as well. But the beat is really good and it's a solid song. I'd say "Amazing's" an okay track. I quite like "Love Lockdown's" quite catchy. It's nothing special. I guess if his fiance has left him, that's why I realise now why he's done "Love Lockdown."
Mm-hmm.
I thought "Paranoid" was a good tune. It felt sort of very 80s, very 2000s. With RoboCop, it felt like he just picked a word for the chorus and just kind of wanted to use it. I thought the verses were good, but the chorus, when he's just saying "I don't want a RoboCop," it didn't really make much sense.
And none of the song even relates to the movie.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, because the rest of the songs is quite an orchestral song as well.
Yeah, that comes back on a lot of these songs, like "Say You Will" and "Welcome to Heartbreak" as well. Sort
Yeah.
of the orchestral thing comes back, and I think "Welcome to Heartbreak" is the first song he did with Kid Cudi.
Oh, really? Wow.
Cute.
I think "Say You Will" needs like a change up. I feel like it needs a bit of a breakdown, like Dark Fantasy on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy has the sort of slow bit and then it cuts to him rapping faster. I thought it just dragged on a bit where it stayed the same.
I
guess
think all I'll say on I think it's because it does set the tone really well, but the
true.
instrumental outro is like 2 minutes long and it just doesn't need to be.
He does love a long outro. Oh boy, yeah.
When he knows he's killed it instrumentally.
I thought, yeah, from this album, only really sort of Paranoid and Heartless really caught me as anything sort of interesting.
I
But I
really
thought
love listening to Welcome to Heartbreak when I've had a bad day.
I think it's a decent album. I think it's interesting. I don't think it's anything amazing.
And I think also when I need a cry, Bad News and Pinocchio's Story are so devastating. They're just good to listen to.
Oh,
Pinocchio's Story's drawn tears from me before when I've listened to it, honestly.
I found it just a bit cringe. He was just sort of him being like, "Oh, I'm such a sad boy. I want to be real like Pinocchio wanted to be."
It was because he feels lost because his mum was guiding him and now she's died and he blames himself for it for moving to LA.
How did she die?
She died of a botched breast enlargement. But I
Wow.
think he blames himself because it's all like LA makes you think like you need to be better and it's easier to get all that done.
Yeah, I guess. But you're the mum of Kanye West. You've got multiple songs written about you, and "Hey Mama" being one of them. I
Hmm.
don't think you need to get a boob job.
I suppose as I was saying it, it did sound a little bit ridiculous. But still, it's an album I like. I think it's really shaped the landscape of hip hop today. Like, I don't think we'd have people like Drake and Future around if not for this album
True.
or The Weeknd.
Definitely.
But it's like again, it's like a sort of a mid-tier album in his discog.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So he's just dropped that album. Then he goes and interrupts Taylor Swift while accepting a Grammy,
I'm
saying that
allergic to
Beyonce
penicillin.
deserved it. It was the greatest video of all time.
What was the Beyonce song?
I can't even remember. I don't know.
Exactly. Like it can't have been the greatest video of all time. No one knows what it was for.
And then Obama calls him a jackass. So what does Kanye do? He goes to Hawaii. He calls all his favorite artists, producers, comedians, all these people, and just basically doesn't sleep for like 2 months, and then makes this album that
That's one way of doing it.
say sorry to the world.
I didn't realize this album was dropped. So this album's 10 years old. I didn't realize it was. Listening to
Literally
it.
10 years old this week.
Yeah. Oh, really? Listening to it, you wouldn't have known. I thought this would be released a lot later.
It's the beauty of Kanye.
Yeah. He did. Performed "Runaway" on the night that was it the MTV Awards where he interrupted Taylor Swift. He performed "Runaway" that night as well. I've seen that where he's got the like the beat machine with him,
Hmm.
and he's doing it all live and everything. It's quite cool.
He also released a Runaway movie as well.
I haven't
It's sort
watched
of a
that.
short film. It's on YouTube. You can watch. It's very artsy and very weird. I don't really
Yeah,
know what happens in it. There's just a girl with wings.
I think there's a marriage of some sort going on.
It does
Judging
come
by,
together, and it is narrated by this album, so I guess that's good at least.
hmm.
But I mean, he then before the album he released every Friday 15 songs, including a Christmas song.
Oh wow.
And then some of them there was remixed versions of Runaway and Power, as well as Devil in New Dress and I'm So Appalled, I think came out as well prior to the release, and then just boom, here it was, his masterpiece, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite albums. I think it's very stylish. I think it's very unique as well. Like I was saying, it does not feel like a 2010 kind of album. I think it's got some of his best songs on it as well. It flows very well. Dark Fantasy, you've got the juxtaposition of the sort of more gospely bit at the beginning, and then his sort of the driving beat with him rapping. I think Gorgeous is a great song. Very
Gorgeous.
Yeah. I think this whole album has got some great bars on it as well. With
Yeah, I mean, we've even got a socially aware Kanye on Gorgeous. Where the hell is that guy now?
True. That's something as well. He had in College Dropouts. He was sort of aware of sort of society and himself and stuff, and he sort of lost it a bit. And this as well, with Power as well, where he's referencing SNL, taking the piss out of him and stuff like that.
I mean, for me, I don't like the Gil Scott Heron quote um with the Lost in the World beat is the outro. I think that is a bit of a cop out way to end the album.
Mm,
But besides that, I love everything about this album. From the
yeah.
really orchestral, beautiful lead into all of the lights, Nicki Minaj reciting a Roald Dahl poem in a British accent. I
Oh,
mean,
is that what it is at the beginning? I knew it was her. I didn't realize. Didn't realize it was a Roald Dahl poem.
well, it's the start of a story, I think.
Oh,
We got so many great features on here. Some of his best songs ever. You got
true.
statements like "Runaway," "Devil in a New Dress." What a beautiful song!
That is a
Like you
very
said,
gorgeous
"Gorgeous,"
song.
my God. And of course, Kanye rapping about Donald Trump on "So Appalled."
True.
So for me, it's his best. Like I said, apart from the closer, I like every song.
Yeah, it's not his best for me, but it's definitely up there. I think it's got a lot of strong songs. Like you said, the interlude into All of the Lights is good. All the features are strong. I think Nicki Minaj sort of steals the show a little bit on Monster. I didn't really like Jay-Z's verse. It's a bit weird when he starts listing all the monsters. It's a bit sort of doesn't flow very well, but So Appalled is very nice as well. I don't really like Hell of a Life. I think it just sounds a bit wrong to me. Although I think the outro on Hell of a Life is nice, where it cuts out and it's got him with just the gospel choir, sort of, with the sort of imagery of getting married in a bathroom with a honeymoon room on the dance floor. That's good. I
And
think,
then the
yeah,
panting at the end. But I think it's so weird that he sort of created watching porn into like a sonic thing.
hmm,
Because that's basically what the whole song's about. Like I'm lonely, I'm just jacking off.
not this
Here's your
monster.
anthem.
Yeah. Well, this is for all my friends jacking it off to my albums. have
You go
Hell of a
from you
Life.
go from Runaway to that. I mean,
Yeah.
easy.
I think the outro, the last two songs, so Lost in the World and Who Will Survive in America, I think they work well in the album, but I wouldn't really listen to them just as
Definitely not.
songs,
No.
especially Who Will Survive in America. 'Cause that's only a minute long of some dude talking about
Could
America
you imagine
conquering the
that
world.
coming on shuffle and someone just saying, "Yeah, I'll leave that on."
Yeah. Lost in the World did come on earlier today, actually, and I left it on because It's quite rhythmic. It's easy to listen to, but I think Blame Game's probably my favourite out of this. I like the use of the voice synthesizer and stuff is done well and not over the top as Kanye can do sometimes. And also the sad imagery at the end of just Kanye sat in his empty apartment with maybe like a glass of whiskey, the lights off, just listening to Marty from Madagascar stealing his girl.
Damn, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. Devil in a New Dress, so smooth. And the three parts of it work really well. Kanye's bars are good, and then you obviously got the guitar solo. Rick Ross comes in hard at the end after being told his original verse wasn't hard enough. Had to redo it.
Do it
Got a slap
again.
on the wrist. Yeah, there's definitely some anthems on here. All of the lights, Power. It's a shame what's happened to Power, really, with like it just becoming sort of one of those songs that's played in the background of adverts or sports sort of events and stuff. Because there's
And of course, a perfume advert.
yeah, that famous perfume advert. Because he's got some bars in there with got some treasures in my mind, but couldn't open up my own vault. Hits hard. It's such a great album.
Damn. The only one I own on vinyl.
Oh really?
Although I do have late registration on CD because I got it in CX for like £2.
I thought you were going to say cassette.
Where would I even play that? My car's not that old.
I've got College Dropout and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy on CD.
That's a good set.
Mm.
Right, after that, we've got everyone's favourite Kanye album.
Oh boy.
Undisputed. Best
Yeah.
artwork. Most coherent track list. Most flawless transition from track to track. Jesus. Which I think last time I asked Tom Hayes, he said this was genuinely his favourite.
What? No. Oh, I'm glad he's not here. Oh god.
I mean, I think it is overhated.
Yeah,
I can listen to it and enjoy myself.
I knew coming into this, I'd only listened to a handful of albums. I'd listened to all of them, especially for you, Tom. And I knew coming into Yeezus that it was the most hated. And I didn't think it's not like awful. It's just not great. I didn't like On Sight sounded a bit like something from an old PS1 game. Like it sounded like something from an old shooter. I didn't
For some reason with On Sight, it's like it's an acid house sample. Like, I quite like that, and I also like how bad the lyrics are. It just makes me laugh.
I think Black Skinhead's got a good beat, but I don't think it's anything special. You could still.
It's those drums that Daft Punk gave him. That's why everyone loves the song so much.
Yeah, it's definitely more used for the beat than him, really. I also looked up I Am a God, which is most of the song is him saying I am a God. It had 15 lyricists on it. 15. And it's like there's hardly any lyrics in it whatsoever.
All I'll say to that is, have you seen the amount of writers that were on Gucci Gang?
No, but also, have you seen the amount of writers that was on that Beyonce song "Girls Rule the World" or something like that, where they've taken the sample as well from something else? And most of the song was her going, "Who rules the world? Girls, girls."
Well, let's not forget that you have to put if you sampled someone, their name has to go in the writer credits.
Oh, true.
So that bulks it up a little bit, so you can be like, "What the hell? The guys from I don't know Parliament wrote this Dr. Dre song." No, he just sampled. They just sampled whatever. But yeah, I think this again, it's one of those albums that I think a lot of people have just sort of taken the big singles out of Black Skinhead and Bound to and New Slaves, and sort of don't bother listening to the rest. When I think there are some gems here. I love Blood on the Leaves.
Yeah, same. I thought Guilt Trip was good.
Send It Up as well.
I think Bound to just seems a bit out of place with this album, because everything's very sort of synthesized, and it feels a bit like Kanye's just sort of exploring through GarageBand at this point. And then
when I saw Kanye live, it was after this album came out, and this was his epic closer, and I have to say, it did make me like it a hell of a lot.
Did he do the whole album?
Uh, I don't remember, but what I do remember is that he did Runaway. He did his first verse, and instead of Pusha T's verse, he did a 15-minute rant about how the clothing industry doesn't take him seriously.
Oh, yeah. Imagine being Pusha T thinking you're gonna get to like feature in Kanye's Jesus tour. No, just the roundabout t-shirts. He's sat there with his phone on the side, waiting for the call to come down to like Detroit or whatever to perform.
Well, I saw it in London, not Detroit. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe Pusha
right.
T came along to some of those shows.
Maybe.
I don't
Well,
know, but
imagine if he's.
like I said about Graduation, this was his other album that was quite derivative. But in this case, it was stealing ideas from the sort of more experimental hip hop songs. Like you can't tell me "I Am a God" doesn't sound like a Death Grip song.
True. It feels like a bit like a bad 808s and Heartbreaks. Like it's sort of taken the idea for that, sort of being a bit more experimental and just driven it too far into the sort of synthesizers and the wacky sounds and stuff. And it's not as sort of lyrically dense as some of the other albums as well.
No, definitely not.
I
But
thought Hold My Liquor did have some solid bars in it, but it wasn't anything special.
and having Bon Iver and Chief Keef on a song together, I think on its own, this is worth its merits.
True.
Because I don't know who else could even do that apart from Kanye.
The video to Bound 2 is just a bit weird as well, because it's just him making out with Kim on a motorbike for 4 minutes.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
It's just a bit awkward. You feel like you're third wheeling.
Okay,
You
guys.
just sat there watching Kim. Kim's fully naked, by the way, as well.
Not for the first time on video.
No, true. Shout out Ray J.
He gets a shout out on the next album, actually.
Oh, true, yeah. You think they'd
Ray
be
J.
friends.
If it wasn't for the females. But yeah, I think again, it's not great. Don't get me wrong, but I think it is overhated. I think it's got some good songs that I enjoy in there. Like I said, New Slaves and Blood on the Leaves. Fire. And the fact there's only 10 songs, like at least if you're gonna make a weird experimental album, at least make it short.
True.
And maybe give it to people for free, but I don't know if he would do that.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll take what we can get.
Yeah.
All right. So after that, I mean, I would say if we missed any good songs, but I think given there's only 10, we probably mentioned them all.
Yeah.
And then after that, he went to a much larger album, and this is a quite confusing album to talk about, The Life of Pablo, because after three years after dropping Yeezus, which was not received very well, he then drops these 2 songs with Paul McCartney that again people don't like very much. And then he just keeps on changing the title of the album, keeps pushing back the release date. He leaks a track list, and then when it actually comes out, none of those songs are on there.
Oh.
So it really upsets people. But it did actually, for me, it did set the tone quite well because the two singles for this album were Real Friends and No More Parties in LA, and they are probably 2 of, if not the best songs on here.
I like Real Friends. I thought it was a solid track.
Real Friends.
I thought Famous was good as well. It's
And if
still
you
a
find
bit
out your friends met up without you, you just put Real Friends on.
F in the chat, boys. That's what Tim's listening to this now. No, he's not on the podcast.
He should be.
It's got Real Friends on repeat, crying.
But the other weird thing about this album, before we get into it, is that it's not the same songs as when it was originally released. Like Wolf sounds different.
Oh, really?
Saint Pablo wasn't on the original version. There's a couple of other songs as well that have just been added. I think it gained like 4 songs from its original release.
It is quite long.
Which is strange, but it is better for it, I have to say. Because again, I think lots of people don't like the album just because of all the sort of nonsense I said before. And it probably is his worst album rollout, just in terms of annoying everyone. But I think there's a lot of good songs on here.
It's not my favourite, to be honest. I do think it is a bit long. I think the beginning is just a struggle to get through. I don't like Ultralight Beam. I don't.
Oh,
I just don't. I like Chance's verse, but I just don't vibe with the whole sort of praising God vibe. It's a bit like Blinded by Your Grace by Stormzy. I don't like that either. I guess I just not a fan of the big man upstairs. I didn't
struck
like.
by light.
Yeah, I'm looking around worried now I'm gonna get smited. Um, I thought Father Stretch My Hand or whatever is too auto-tuned and just a bit weird. And I can't believe he stole the sample from every Vine in the early 2000s, in the 2010s.
You think
With
they came first?
yeah, he stole that from King Bach and Logan Paul, and they've not got a dime for
Innovators of the game.
it. I thought part two as well with the designer sample and stuff. I don't know why. Like, you're Kanye West, you don't need to basically steal Panda and then rap over it in a weird auto-tuned way.
I'll give you that. I don't think part 2 is very good, but part one is a masterpiece.
I don't know. I think it's too auto-tuned for my liking. I like Famous. I still thought
If I fuck this model.
exactly. That's such a weird beginning to a song. It raises a good point though.
Did Kid Cudi not kill the chorus?
Yeah, I guess. There were some tracks I liked on this. I liked Feedback. I did like Low Lights as well, but not hugely. Real Friends, as we've mentioned before, is a great song. I thought the hook from FML Fuck My Life was good, and it builds well. And it is a bit weird, but it's not too weird.
I love the weird ending. I think that's when
Yeah.
it gets its best. And then Kanye sort of singing in his autotune over this weird like 80s synth pop sample thing that's going on. It's just I don't know. I think I will agree with what you said to me when we talked about it the first time, that it is a bit unorganized. These are sort of just songs. They're not really put together that well. But I think the song quality is what carries this album through. Because Ultralight Beam, Father Stretch My Hands, Famous, Feedback, Freestyle 4, Fuck My Life, Real Friends, Wolves, No More Pies in LA, Fade. These were all bangers.
I don't know. I can see how people can like them, but personally, I don't know. I thought 30 Hours was made well. I thought the beat was very good for the sort of idea of him driving 30 hours and stuff. And then it's funny at the end when he's just like randomly calling people and being like, "Hey, I'm doing a shout out song. Want to be on it?" And
Beat him after school just to show I've got class.
Yeah.
Congrats to whoever wrote that for him.
Oh, did he not write that?
Have you not seen his credits for like every album?
His credits
write very much, I don't think.
The credits for this album are huge on every song. Like, looking at on YouTube, listen to it. If you go down to the lyricists and composers right at the bottom, there's so many.
I think what happened was he on the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy thing, he got so many people on all these songs. Like, you see the amount of people that sung on All of the Lights for the final chorus.
Mm.
And I think he's just sort of carried that on for every album since. There's just so many collaborators. He wants so many different people's opinions to make it perfect. And it does sort of, I don't know if it would affect how the songs come out that much, in all honesty.
I don't know. I do miss sort of, especially with this album, sort of more lyrically dense songs where it's just Kanye, where this is sort of more about the beats and stuff and about the effects he can do. I think I Love Kanye is a nice touch. It's funny.
Yes. It's quite self-aware, which I didn't really expect.
Which is you sort of lost that through the last couple of albums.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of Kanye's getting sucked up into Kanye's own little bubble a bit. But I thought I Love Kanye is a nice touch.
But yeah, I can see why people don't like it that much.
It's a bit messy.
And it's got Chris Brown on it.
Yeah.
But then after that, was it 2 years later, we get Kanye just tweets out of nowhere, "I'm dropping 5 albums in 5 weeks, all produced by me. So we get Pusha T's Daytona, and then we get Ye, his shortest album to date. At just 23 minutes and 41 seconds.
It doesn't feel that like overly short though when you listen to it. It's not too long, it's not too short. It feels right.
Yeah, go along with that.
I like Ye. I remember when it was released, everyone was a bit like, this is just a bit weird. Has he finally sort of gone off the edge? But I quite like it. I thought about Killing You. I thought the spoken style is quite nice and it's clever as well.
And who it's targeted at as well. Does that help you like it?
The fact he wants to off one of the Kardashians.
His wife.
Yeah. It feels like, when I was listening to it, it felt like the sort of spoken style, it felt a bit like something sort of childish would do. It was quite interesting to listen to. I thought although at the end though, I don't know if when he starts actually rapping, whether it would have been better to leave. I thought about Killing You on its own and then have that as a separate song. I didn't really feel like the actual rapping was needed on the end of that. It felt a bit out of place. I thought Yikes was probably one of my favourite songs out of this whole album. The hook was great on that.
And just the image of him and Wiz Khalifa and Kim Jong-un all smoking a joint. I mean, that's...
Yeah. What more could you want from a song?
And I think, like you said, really, the only song I don't like is All Mine. I think the rest of it...
I thought that was solid.
Oh, really?
I thought you can sort of see a bit of sort of Cuddy's influence on that a little bit. Because obviously he released the next album, Kids See Ghosts, of what they like... Was it a week apart or 2 months apart or something?
Week apart.
A week apart. I thought like that. Less auto-tune on this album, which I thought was nice to sort of hear sort of Ye's voice again after sort of Yeezus and Life of Pablo, and even a bit on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. He's going more into sort of playing with the voice effects and stuff.
And he showed on Ghost Town that his natural singing voice ain't that bad.
Yeah, his natural singing voice has never been that bad because he sings a bit on Runaway, doesn't he? And Hey Mama as well, he sings as well. He's got quite a nice soft voice. So whoever introduced him to autotune, it's a double-edged sword.
I really like Wouldn't Leave and No Mistakes as well. I think for some reason, this is sort of, I think what, like you said about the album we just talked about, T-Lop, it did sort of feel like the features and the beats were sort of carried a little bit, whereas on this album, I think it sort of went back to what he used to do of just having sort of people that aren't necessarily that famous or that good, like Party Next Door and 7 Shake, that just sort of made the album, like they added nice bits to it without sort of being themselves, and they sort of sounded better than they do on their own solo stuff.
I thought this album...
And No Mistakes is a beautiful song, like the chorus with Charlie Wilson and Kid Cudi duetting. That's a lovely moment as well.
I thought the samples on this album were pretty good as well. It felt like a more soulful album as well. Sort of more, just getting back to writing what he wants. I like Violent Crimes as well to sort of close out the album. I thought that's a good, nice way to end it.
Although that song has been ruined a bit for me when I found out that the entire verse was ghostwritten for him.
Oh, by who?
Someone called Pardison Fontaine.
Oh, I don't know. I think I've heard of the name actually.
That's probably the reason why. I can't think of anything, to be honest, else that he's famous for.
As soon as you said ghostwritten, though, I just had the image of Soulja Boy just going, Drake!
Yes, Soulja Boy wrote it.
So, his best writing to date.
And then a week and a day later, because for some reason with all these albums they were going along, Daytona was released on time. Ye came out in Friday afternoon, and then Kids See Ghosts was Saturday morning, and then it just got worse and worse from there. I think Tiana Taylor's album ended up coming out on the Monday after it was meant to come out. But anyway, Kids See Ghosts. This was the one when all of them were announced that I was the most excited for. Because don't they always make good songs together, Kanye and Kid Cudi?
Cudi's always had a bit of a backseat, though, I felt. in the songs that he's done with Kanye. And I feel like you can definitely feel his influence more if you listen to this and then listen to the sort of the Man on the Moon albums by Cudi on his own. You can definitely feel more of Cudi's influence over this, which is nice. I think they balance it well. I think Feel the Love opens the album. I think it's the right level of crazy from Kanye when he's sort of doing sort of the scat for the beat as well. I quite like it. Yeah, I think it's fire. I thought it was quite good.
No,
I
it
thought
definitely is fire.
Fire was fire as well. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was a song I didn't like on this album. I thought Fourth Dimension had a good driving beat with a good
And
sample.
it's a Christmas song, his second Christmas song.
What, Fourth Dimension?
Yeah.
It's a Christmas song.
The chorus is a sample where it goes, "What is Santa bringing?"
Oh, I didn't even realise. Fourth Dimension sort of reminds me a little bit of Sicko Mode, the sort of way it sort of speeds up, slows down.
I think Kid Cudi, in many ways, is the star of this show.
Mm.
But I think Kanye brought it on the production side, and like you said, some of the weirder things he did.
La-ta-ta-ta.
I put it in there, but I said I'm lost. Uh-oh. I don't know. I think even like at the end when it's got that oh god, what's his name? Kurt Cobain sample. Sort of finished the album off. It was all sort of what Kid Cudi wanted.
Yeah. I thought Reborn was probably my favourite track. I think you've got sort of the whole album, I think, marries both their styles as well. I think Reborn's good though, because you've got Cudi sort of doing his thing, and then Kanye's verse is very sharp, very crisp as well. Great bar with cardio audio, let me jog your brain. I feel like the only criticism I could probably give is that some of the songs feel a bit sort of formulaic. It's a bit like let Cudi do Cudi, then Kanye comes in with a verse, and then a Cudi outro. But I don't think it spoils it. I think it's a nice album. And I feel like Kanye's verses in this are very tight and very crisp.
I think the song with Mos Def is the only one that I'd agree with you on that, because it just sort of, because Cudi just starts off with his stereotypical humming on his verse, and then he does his verse, and it's not very long, and then they go back to it. But I love every song on this album. I think it's the only one that can really hold a light to College Dropout and Kids See Ghosts in terms of his echelons and sort of the back end of his career.
Yeah,
I just think it's fire.
Yeah, it's a great album. It's also, I think it's the right. It does feel. It's nice that it's short as well, because I feel like they could have, if it was a longer, you could have got a bit bored of sort of the Cudi sort of floaty instrumentals, echoey voice kind of vibe. It's nice. It's short. It's punchy. It works well.
Yeah, definitely. And I just like, I think like you said, it sort of makes it a bit more of a piece by itself. The fact that it's shorter than a normal album, and they're together on every song. It's nice. I like it.
I like it.
And then we finish off Kanye's career to date, because believe it or not, Donda was due to come out, what was it, 4 months ago now? Still nothing. He was busy running a presidential campaign, of course.
Ranting about nearly aborting his daughter.
No, I thought he was nearly aborted himself. Oh, it was both, wasn't it? That's why he felt bad.
That was such a weird moment. But anyway,
that was the only bit of campaigning he did as well.
Have a breakdown on stage about abortion.
Would it be a Kanye public appearance if he didn't have a breakdown?
Watch the votes roll in.
And that is the Jesus is King. And again, I find this. Well, I hated it at first, then I loved it. Now I'm sort of on the fence with it. But when he spoke about it with Zane Lowe, and he was sort of saying, I'd gone from making Jesus Walks to making You're Such a Fucking Hoe, I Love It. And also a song about wanting to fuck his wife's sisters. You know, it's sort of, he sort of realised that he needed to go back to his roots, and I would agree, I have to say, and I think it's cute for what it is.
I didn't hear this when it first came out. I heard that he'd done a gospel record, so I thought it was going to be a whole hour of sort of like a gospel choir. sort of singing praise the Lord and everything a bit sort of like every hour. I thought the whole album was going to be like that. So I think it was a pleasant surprise when it was actually a bit more hip hoppy and a bit more sort of bit more rap as well. And it feels a bit like he's gone from using a lot of orchestral stuff and choirs, and then he had this sort of auto-tuney bit, and then he tried to come back. He sort of found a happy medium with sort of Kids See Ghosts and sort of around there, and then he's tried to come back a bit and overshot and gone too far into the gospel bit. But I didn't hate it. I thought it was going to be an hour of sort of just praising God and just a choir and Kanye or something like that. I didn't really know what to expect, but I thought Follow God was a great track. I thought Closed on Sunday was a bit like RoboCop with sort of he just.
This is the only Kanye album that we've reviewed on here, and me and Tom have been very vocal on our distaste for Closed on Sunday.
Yeah, it just felt like a bit like he'd picked a phrase and then wanted to put it in a song. It's too preachy for me as well. Like,
definitely, but I think, like you said, there are still some great songs. Like, I think Use This Gospel is one of my favorite Kanye tracks ever. Just the way that the vocal thing in the background just gets louder with every verse, and the Kenny G sax solo at the end. It's art, man.
I liked Hands On. I thought when the beat and his flow is regular and hands on, I like that. Some of the tracks do get too preachy for me, like Closed on Sunday, On
Closed on
God.
Sunday, the biggest offender.
Yeah.
And Everything We Need as well. I think that was probably. So the two gimmicks were that it was religious and that it was going to be clean and there was going to be no swearing and no premarital sex for anyone that took part in it. And I think Everything We Need is probably the song that really shows that and really suffers from it. And I just, even though Ty Dolla $ign is on it and they usually make good music together, on this occasion I don't feel it.
It got a bit scary at some points. I was sat listening to it, thinking I was being like indoctrinated.
It is quite cultish at times. It is.
Yeah, you feel like you're strapped in a chair at a camp, being told to love God, and it's a bit. I don't know if you listened to it and you didn't know anything about it. I don't know if you'd know it was a Kanye album.
Although I did see it's been nominated this year in a gospel album, best gospel album at the Grammys.
Imagine that you're just some gospel choir and you get nominated for the Grammys against Kanye West
months after he peed on his Grammy.
Yeah,
I mean,
he doesn't need another one.
This is Kanye West. Will he even turn up to collect it if he wins?
Yeah. Will he piss on it live on stage?
This is what I think of your gospel Grammy.
While saying praise Jesus or something. You know, I wouldn't put it past him at this point.
Ever since Ghost Town Part 2 didn't get nominated for Best Rock Song, Kanye has been very anti-Grammys.
Did you see this year that the MTV Awards, Coldplay won Best Rock Band?
When was the last time they even dropped a new song?
Yeah, more to the point, when was the last time Coldplay was a rock band?
Damn.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Jesus is King. I thought it was a nice surprise. I didn't hate it. Some bits are too preachy, but I thought Follow God was nice. Hands On was good. Water was nice, but nothing special. I thought the beat and the hook was nice, but the verses, nothing amazing. But
yeah, I think the beat is the one. Although I do have to say, I've ranked the albums and I did put this last.
Oh, I think it's in the bottom half for me. I feel
I can't see anyone saying, "Oh, you know what my favorite Kanye album is?" Jesus is King.
Although I was
when I saw that the chorus, when the artwork was a picture of a vinyl, I was like, you know, if this is good, I might get it just for that. But no, there was no way that was ever gonna.
I looked at the comments for this album, and it's loads of people being like, "Oh, who else is glad that Kanye has gone back to the Lord, and that Kanye has found the Lord, and that Kanye is coming back to redemption and stuff." And it's like, oh God, I don't know when was he in redemption? Like, if you listen to College Dropout, he's got breathe in, breathe out, and make them high and stuff like that. Although I suppose it's got Jesus Walks as well, but new workout plan. Yeah, it's refound the Lord. That's what we all should do.
Amen to that. Okay, so what is your least? So do you want to go for your ranking and then I'll do mine?
Okay, I've got at number 10. I've got Graduation. It just felt very soulless and very overproduced. Number 9, I've got Life of Pablo.
Damn.
I just felt it's too auto-tuney for me. I think these two are probably my last two because I felt more disappointed. I expected better. Whereas some of the other albums that are lower down, I kind of expected to be where they are. And then 8, I've got Jesus. Just because it was just a bad 808s and Heartbreaks. It was too just not enjoyable and a bit weird.
I just can't believe these are all falling below Jesus King.
I've got Jesus King at 7 because I think I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't just 11 tracks of a gospel choir telling me to love God. Obviously, it's got that bit in the middle.
You let the Lord in.
I did let the Lord in. I think it's got saved by sort of Follow God and Hands On and stuff, which I thought Follow God is a very good song, and it's not too preaching. Then number 6, I've got 808 and Heartbreaks. I thought it was nice. I thought it was very good with what it was trying to do. Experimental, but not too crazy. It had some good songs on it. So I thought it was solid. I could listen to it in the background and stuff, but I wouldn't go out my way to listen to the whole thing. And then at my number 5, so into the top 5 now, I've got Yay at number 5. I quite liked Yay. I thought it was solid. I thought as well, I guess I was a little bit pleasantly surprised as well. I thought it was going to be him going a bit off about his mental health and stuff. And it did have some strong songs in there, like Yikes, and I Thought About Killing You and stuff. Number 4, I've got Late Registration. I thought it was a solid album, sort of a calmer version of College Graduate, College Dropout even. Strong songs in there, Hey Mama. Very nice as well. And then top 3 now. I've got number 3, Kids See Ghosts. I'm a big fan of Cuddy, big fan of Yay, so put them together. Very short and sweet, but I liked it. Reborn is such a great track. Number 2, I've got My Dark, Beautiful, Twisted Fantasy. I liked it. I thought it was strong. It flows well, great bars and everything. But number 1, my first Kanye love, College Dropout is number 1.
Oh.
It's very lyrically dense. I thought it flows well, strong throughout. There's one song on it that I don't like, but we can forgive that. But College Dropout is my favourite.
Okay, so as you probably guessed, Jesus King is last.
But you gotta let the Lord in.
I think I need to, clearly. I'm not getting something. I just think it's his only album that is probably half and half good songs and duds. I think everything else is at least mostly good songs. And that's why it's last for me. Then Graduation, Yeezus, Late Registration.
Oh,
Yay.
really? That low?
It's not for me, I don't think.
Fair enough.
And it's almost like we said that I think all the most famous songs being right at the start, it sort of kills the momentum for me a bit.
Yeah, fair enough.
Where was I? So Late Reg, then Yay, then 808s, The Life of Pablo, Kids See Ghosts, College Dropout, and of course, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Well,
but I think listening to all of his albums is a worthwhile thing to do.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see the development, especially in sort of the technology side as well, when he starts to discover sort of the auto-tune more. That's interesting. And as well as he gets older as well, because obviously, how old is he in College Dropout? Sort of 23 or something like that?
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Don't fact check us.
You
Yeah,
know
it's
it's
quite nice
right.
to see the development. And I definitely glad that I've listened to them all now, because I only really listened to sort of College Dropout and my dark beautiful twisted fantasy. So it's nice to see the evolution and a little bit of the sort of him going off the rails a little bit in some of it as well.
So you can see that it's not just in public speaking that he does that. It's in
He also
all
publishes
aspects
it
of
in
his
music.
life.
Yeah, it seeps into his artwork.
As you'd hope it would.
Yeah.
Oh, never change, Kanye. And drop the album at some point. Because the
Yeah.
artwork's too good to not have.
Oh, has he
To not...
released the artwork already?
Yeah, he dropped the artwork and he said the album's coming this Friday. And everyone was like, oh my God. And here we are, however many months later.
Oh, blame
I'll send
COVID.
it to you. It's a work of art.
Was it Donda?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's one song released from it though, isn't there? There's one song on YouTube.
Yeah, the Travis Scott one.
Hmm.
That really whet the appetite as well, because it was like Jesus is King, but it was like a proper song at the same time.
You think Jesus and King doesn't have proper songs?
I think I'd like to strike it from his discography if I could.
Oh, whoa! You just strike that. The Lord is coming for you.
I need
Is
to
all I
let the
can
Lord
say.
in. Okay. That's the main takeaway from this episode.
Let the Lord in, guys.
Well, I hope you do enjoy. It's been quite a long one, but I think it's always interesting and worthwhile to talk about a specific man, especially your future president
The next
or US
president.
citizens. Can't wait
Let's
to
all
see Kim
register.
Kardashian as the first lady.
Oh damn! I didn't even think of that. Keeping Up with the Kardashians White House special.
A whole 4 years worth of episodes.
Coming soon on ABC.
Can't wait. All right.
So,
Thanks, Will.
that's okay. Thank you for having me.
Peace out
Peace out.
to Kanye only.
Let the Lord in.
I will.